everyone, it's Frankie-Lou coming to you from one of the many spruce trees here at the Grow To Gather Homestead. We're really fortunate. We have probably close to 80 spruce trees on our property, and they're wonderful in many ways that are obvious, but I like to eat them. I know that sounds crazy, but actually I get a huge harvest off my spruce trees every year. And I'm so glad I have these because I know that I'm gonna maintain these trees well. They're not exposed to any spray, they're not exposed to any chemical fertilizers. So I know that this is a really good tree that I can harvest from. Whereas a lot of the spruce trees you see in landscaping around the city or around it's been sprayed and stuff. These I'm very secure about. I know that anything I take from this is gonna be wonderful. So what the heck am I doing? Well, my dog thinks so too. What are you doing, Mom? What I'm doing is I'm harvesting the very young buds of the spruce tree as it starts to create new growth in the spring. It's a very short season. Why would you want to give it a try? Well, even if you don't love the flavor of them, and honestly, I love the flavor. Spruce is amazingly, although most conifers, actually all conifers, are really high in vitamin C. Tea is one of the things I make with the spruce tips, and I can show you that later in another video. But basically, I'm going to harvest these tips, and I'm going to use them for a whole bunch of different things. I'm going to dry for tea, I'm going to make syrup, I'm going to use it fresh like pestos and salad dressings and dips, and you can even throw it last minute into a stir fry. But warning, I love intense flavors, always have, so I love spruce tips. It's very intense, okay? So think of it more like you're not using a vegetable, but more like you're using a herb. And the closest flavor I could come to would be saying, if you took rosemary, which has a slightly piney flavor, right? And you mix it with citrus, that's sort of what this tastes like. So as rosemary is a very strong herb, this stuff is strong too. You want to keep that in mind when you're using it in your cooking. You also, if you cook with the tips themselves and you actually heat them up too much, they lose a lot of their flavor and color, like any fresh herb does. So what you want to do is add it at the last minute. Think of it as a herb. That's what I do. Okay, I use it sparingly. It also works well in desserts. You can make infusions and put it into cream. Lots of things, and I'll be showing you lots of things. But right now I'm going to show you how to harvest them. Okay, so this is about the youngest tree I would harvest from. I like to leave the trees that I'm harvesting from to get a chance to grow before I start harvesting. Because basically you're essentially, when you take off these spruce tips, you're pruning that tree. It's not going to grow that part for the rest of the year. Okay, so some obvious things. If you take something from the top of the tree, that tree's not going to get any taller from the top, right? Because you've basically pruned the top of the tree. So don't pick from the top of the tree. But I'm not going to be able to do that anyway, so why would you? So another thing is you don't want to over harvest, okay? You only want to take, from a branch, normally I can see 6 or 7 nice little tips. I'm not going to take more than 3 or 4 off of that. And I'm not going to do it on all the branches. I like to stick to the branches which are in more the shadier areas because they're not going to grow that much out of the sun anyways. And I harvest most intensively down at the bottom of the tree because that actually doesn't need to get any bigger. You want these branches to grow and get bigger, but honestly, they don't need to get any bigger on the bottom. So that's where I do my most intensive harvesting. Okay, I'm now going to bring the camera over so that you can see what this looks like, and I hope you'll give it a try. Alright, so as you can see here, these are the spruce tips. Alright, these are just the perfect point to harvest because they no longer have the paper skins on them. And I'll see if I can find some like that, which you'd have to remove, but they also are still super soft. In terms of fresh eating, you really only want to pick the super soft ends. Okay, so on this branch, and this is the highest I would go, both because I'm physically, like if you look at the tree, All right, you see how high it is? Physically, without a ladder, that's the highest I want to go. And I have enough accidents without getting on a ladder, so let's just not do that. And honestly, I want those branches at the top to grow more. So in terms of the amount I'm going to harvest, I'm going to take like 3 off of here. And I'm going to continue on. I'm not going to take everything. I'm not even going to take half, okay? Because I do want this tree to have an opportunity to grow. Okay, so here's some of those spruce tips that still have the papery husks on them. I'm not going to pick those yet. They'll be perfect in a few days. I'll come out and harvest some more. But that, some people just remove them, but honestly, I like to leave them a few days more myself. So they're still nice and soft, but they're a little bigger and don't have to remove the husk. But the flavors, you really should try. I really like the blue and white spruce, which we have here on our property. But you might find yourself, they do, each species of tree does have a very distinct flavor, and some of them can be a little bit bitter and intense. So make sure you check to see that you're harvesting off a tree that you actually like the flavor of. Another thing is don't harvest off of yew trees. Yew trees look a lot like a conifer, and but they're toxic. Okay, they're a low shrub. They're not a tree, but just look up what a yew tree looks like before you go harvesting off of conifers, because you don't want to be harvesting off your landscape, and they're quite toxic. Okay, and I would suggest that you do harvest off your own trees or ones that you have permission to. So I've been busy, but it's been fun, and oh, my hands smell delicious. This is really a very pleasant activity, more than some foraging things. But one of the reasons why is I have over 3 pounds of spruce tips here in a little over an hour, so that's pretty good. One of the best ways to store it, if you're going to use it soon, is in a Ziploc bag like this. Sometimes I'll pop a wet towel in there, like a little hand cloth or a towel in there, to help keep it moist. I'm going to rinse them. All right, I can freeze some of these. I'm going to use a bunch of them fresh and over the next few weeks, because honestly they do keep very, very well in the fridge. And I'm also going to dry a bunch with tea. So I hope you'll give this a try, because it is really quite a fun activity. The flavor is like nothing else, and it's something that is quite a sustainable foraging practice as well. You're not really, like, when you look at the size of this tree and how much you're taking, it's still getting a huge harvest, and you compare it to some other foraging activities. It's a really good way to make the most of your time that way and produce a lot of flavor. I'm also going to be doing, like I said, some spruce tip syrup and a couple of other things I'm going to have fun playing with, and I'll make sure I'll share recipes for that over the next little bit. And so if you want to see those, just make sure you follow and see what's going on. And yeah, if you have any questions, comments, let me know. If there's something you want to see, let me know. And as always, I hope you take today's chance to grow together. Have a good one.